Hey guys, HW here. Come down to Sydney Harbour today to make a film in some of the tourist spots which I've been promising for a while. Now it's unbelievable that a harbour so beautiful as Sydney has an ugly train station built right next to it. And there goes one of the trains now. So come get around it with me as I go around some of the tourist spots in Sydney, around Sydney Harbour. Exited the railway station, gonna head off towards the harbour now. Some of the ferries at Circular Quay, dropping off those that are still going to work on the 17th of December. Another cloudy day in Sydney. Unfortunately this summer we've been hit by the La Nina weather event, which means cooler, wetter conditions for Sydney's summer or Australia's summer this year. So if you're planning on coming over, maybe you haven't picked such a great year to come over. Because I don't think there's going to be that much sunshine around this year. And you can see in the distance there she is, the coat hanger, the Sydney Harbour Bridge. Sydney cruise ship terminal over there, or passenger terminal. That's where some of the more exclusive cruise liners come in and dock. The others dock around in Walsh Bay around the corner. Tell you what, I'll be glad when I get past all of these cafes. I hate having an audience when I'm walking along. I'll give you a quick look back at the city here. So there's Circular Quay, and you can see the railway station that I just exited. And that weird shaped building on the right hand side there, that's the new Crown Casino, which I'm not even sure whether they've actually completed it yet, but it looks like it's certainly getting there. And right off in the distance over there, I'll try to point to it underneath the bridge. There is the famous Luna Park in Sydney, which was, I think, the only fun park we had in Sydney for a long time, until in the 80s. I think it was an American gent who built Australia's Wonderland out past Eastern Creek, which is out in the west of Sydney. Unfortunately, it's closed down now, but Luna Park's still here for you if you're interested. And the last celebrity of note that I know that visited Luna Park was as I was saying about Luna Park, I think the last celebrity of note that visited Luna Park was Angelina Jolie. I think she took one of her kids on the old roller coaster over there. So it's definitely a destination that a lot of families head to when they come to Sydney, and it's so old and nostalgic. I think it'd be very similar to Coney Island in America, but I haven't been to Coney Island, so I can't give a really good comparison. So let's keep going, let's keep walking, and we'll walk up to the Opera House. So Sydney's international borders only opened up recently, and I can definitely see a bunch of tourists around here today walking around. Of course there'll be some domestic tourists as well, but I have noticed a couple of different accents as I've walked through Circular Quay. So there's definitely some international visitors that have flown in to meet up with family, probably for a family reunion for Christmas. So hopefully they get better weather than this, but as I said, Australia's climate, its weather, it's pretty much drought or flood. And unfortunately for a lot of these people, I think this summer is going to be the flood. As we head towards the steps of the Opera House, you guys want me to walk up the stairs, don't you? You want me to puff and pan up these bloody stairs. Tell me the truth. Alright then, let's give it a go. Here we go, up the stairs. Look at that, I've never seen that before. There's a couple of guys actually washing the windows up there. A couple of window washers. There's a film crew over here. Look like they might be part of the Opera House. Doing a promotional video or something like that, probably. So you can quite clearly see the sails that make the Opera House famous. I think construction started in the 50s and didn't get completed until the early 70s. A famous Danish architect designed it. I think his name was Utzon or Utzon. And a bit of controversy around it, where he didn't get to complete the building to his liking initially. And I can definitely confirm that, because I came here a few times as a school child to see concerts, and I do remember there was definitely at least one building or one room or one concert hall that had terrible acoustics, and the rumour was that was because the architect wasn't able to complete the Opera House to his liking. Of course, politics got involved, and that was the end of the story. But I think later on, much later on, the architect was congratulated for his work and received a couple of awards from the Australian government, and I think his family was included in it as well. So it was good to see he got the reward in the end, because it's certainly an iconic building and definitely worth a visit if you come over to Sydney. Now, this is one thing that you don't see very often in clips of the Opera House, is the entrance underneath the stairs. And this is where a lot of dignitaries and others actually enter the Opera House. The cars drive through here and drop them off, and then they go into the theatre. There you go. There's the Danish architect's name on the door over there. Let's go over there and film it. A bit dark under here. So there you go, there's his name up in lights. He's actually got one of the rooms named after him. So good to see. The smell that I got as I got closer to those doors there, it sort of a musty smell, I suppose. A real theatre smell, but different. A little bit fresher, but it's hard to explain. That was me just blowing off a fly. So even though it's not that sunny today, there's still bloody flies out. And there's another look at the Opera House there as we start to walk away from it. And what I might do is at the end I'll come back and I'll just do a little walk around the Opera House there, so that you can have a look at the harbour from that angle as well. And these gates up here, which are right next to the Opera House, are the entrance to Sydney's Botanic Gardens, or Botanical Gardens. And it's actually called the Queen Elizabeth II Gate. Open 7 a.m. daily. and unfortunately all of those transport options are unavailable, including bringing your little mutt along as well. And this is what the Botanical Gardens looks like with the cityscape in the background. Plenty of joggers out exercising this morning. Pre-COVID, when all the offices were open and everyone was actually coming into the office, you come down here any lunchtime of the week, and there'd be hundreds and hundreds of office workers out having a jog in their lunch hour. I actually used to do it myself. A couple of different places that I worked at, and it was a delight to run around the harbour. Here's the ibis fishing around in the grass to see if they can find something to eat. Now, in Australia, we like to call these birds bin chickens, because often you'll find them fishing through garbage bins at shopping centres and in parks. There's Sydney Centre Point Tower in the distance there. That's the tallest building in Sydney. And still some nice looking flowers out today in the Botanical Gardens. Also at lunchtime, when it's a sunny day, plenty of office workers come down here to sunbathe on these grass lawns. And some just come down to have their lunch. Now, if you've ever been on a tour to Sydney, especially on a tour bus, this is the place that you get dumped at most often. It's Mrs. Macquarie's chair. And you can see why you get dumped here, because this is where you get the best shots of the harbour. You see the mansion across the harbour there. That's Kirribilli House, and that's one of the residences for the Prime Minister when he's in Sydney, and also a guest house for dignitaries when they're here in Sydney as well. Pretty sure the royal family stayed there a few times. North Sydney in the background on the other side of the Harbour Bridge, and then the main city there. So as you can see, Sydney is broken up between the main part of the city and North Sydney. North Sydney mainly contains advertising agencies, insurance companies, software companies, whereas the southern side of the city is mainly banking and finance. So even though it's a gloomy day on the harbour today, it's always a wonderful sight. Lots of areas to walk around here at Mrs. Macquarie's chair. Plenty of stairs where you can go right down to the harbour. There's a guy fishing down there. He's keen as mustard. And here is the Mrs. Macquarie's chair. And this is where Mrs. Macquarie, who was the wife of the then Governor Macquarie, used to sit and admire the harbour. Let's go back here and sit on it. So here we are sitting on the carved out rock, and so she had a good view of Fort Denison there. It looks like a nice easy swim, doesn't it? If you were one of the prisoners back in the day when it was a small prison, you would have thought you could make it to the mainland quite easily. But I dare say back in those days, Sydney Harbour would have been full of a lot more sharks. Even today it's full of bull sharks, which are quite aggressive, often knock kayakers off their kayaks when they're out for a morning paddle or afternoon paddle. So not something that I'd like to do, to be honest. There's a few naval bases around Sydney Harbour. This is one of them, and today there's a couple of ships. I'm covered by trees a bit, so it's a bit hard, but I'm no expert on naval craft, but I think there's some sort of supply ship up the front there, and that's some sort of little, I don't know, patrol boat or frigate or something. I don't know what they call them. And then this one here with the ramp on the end of it, I'm pretty sure this is one of the big helicopter landing ships that the Australian Navy has. There's more of the naval yard there, so still plenty of room for more ships. And then there's another ship down there. And I'll just move back here a bit to show you another landmark which you might find interesting. That finger wharf that you can see there in between the naval ship and those luxury yachts over there, that's where the Hollywood actor Russell Crowe used to live. I'm not sure whether he still lives there or not, but he lives right on the end of the wharf there. Someone would have to fact check that for me, but he definitely owned one of the penthouses on the end of the wharf there, and you'd often see him out and about at Woolloomooloo, which is at the end of the wharf there. Woolloomooloo is full of plenty of restaurants, especially this finger wharf here. Many of Sydney's well-heeled will go down there for a boozy lunch or a boozy dinner after work. In the background, the buildings in the background that you see, that's Potts Point and King's Cross. So definitely if you come to Sydney, it's nice to walk around the harbour, and you can easily walk to all these other locations as well. I think this swimming pool here is the Bobby Charlton pool. I might be wrong, but we'll have a look when we get down to see if there's a sign there that actually tells us what it's called. But I'm pretty sure that's what it is. I think it's the Bobby Carlton pool, or Bobby Charlton, however you want to say it. I should know, being a Sydney-sider, but I certainly didn't come here to go swimming when I was a boy. I've been turning the camera, the GoPro, on and off. So I've got it inside this media mod, and it's constantly heating up and shutting down. So that's a bit annoying. So I don't know how I'm going to overcome that if I want to do more walking tours. I might have to do it in snippets like I'm doing today. Oh, there you go. I stuffed it up a little bit. It's actually called the Andrew Boy Carlton pool. There you go. How typical, as I'm coming to the end of my little tour today, the sun comes out. And that's how the weather's going to be this summer, folks, if you come out to Sydney in Australia. It's just going to be lots of dull days with the sun poking through occasionally, and then lots of rain. So again, I'd suggest holding off for a bit before you come out. Maybe come out in the autumn instead, and maybe you'll get some clearer days then, and not so hot as well. There goes one of the speedboats that you can jump aboard to race around the harbour. Alright, as we exit the Botanical Gardens, let's do a quick skirt around the base of the Opera House, as I promised earlier. And if you didn't believe the Opera House was built right onto the harbour, take a look at those harbour walls there. So it might be a little ferry coming in to pick up these people now. There you go, there's a better look at Kirribilli House across the water there from the Opera House. That's a fancy looking yacht out there, motor yacht. And this is what the back of the Opera House looks like. Now if you're one of the snobs, one of the elite of the city, this is where you come to the Lord Mayor's New Year's Eve do, where you get the absolute best view of the harbour and its fireworks, especially the fireworks that, as you'll know from your footage in whatever country you're from, the fireworks usually fountain off the end of the base of the harbour bridge there, and then obviously off the top as well. And here's the back of the Opera House. So there's a couple of the sails there, and then it splits and the rest of the sails there. So as you can see, this area here, you can fit quite a few people in here. That's why this is the party spot for the Lord Mayor on New Year's Eve. Underneath there, the offices of the Opera House, I think, Trust itself. So all the people that behind the scenes get all the shows happening, theatre, opera, plays, whatever you want to call them. Be a pretty cool spot to work with a view like this. Lots of helicopters buzzing around the harbour today as well. Probably tourist flights, but it could also be authorities as well, checking out various container ships coming in or checking fishing boats. It's a nice little seat here to get a view of the harbour. I might sit down here for a second, have a rest. It's starting to get quite humid as the sun comes out. There goes one of the ferries. That's the Manly Fast Ferry, apparently. So for a few extra dollars, I think you can catch that one and get over to Manly, which is way over that way around the heads, or just before the heads. There's a turn into Manly. So that's another day. I think we'll do that. We'll film that one day. I'll film a ferry ride out to Manly. That'll be quite nice. And those green and yellow ferries down the end there, they're the normal ones. So they're the ones that are a bit slower that take you out to Manly. But on a rough day when there's some waves coming through the heads, it's quite exciting to be on board those. Can't see anybody climbing the harbour bridge today. Oh no, wait a minute. I do see a few people up there. Not nearly the numbers that you normally see. It's quite expensive to climb it. I don't know what it is now, but back in the day it was about $150 or something like that. But I think it's like at least into the 200s or 300s now, maybe even more. But if you're only coming out to Sydney for the first time, or you don't intend on coming back, definitely worth climbing, I think. Those apartment buildings you can see in the distance there, like right next to the harbour here, right next to the ferry terminal. They're often called the Toasters. Quite expensive apartments and penthouses, as you would expect. And a lot of celebrities living in those apartments. A few radio jocks, well paid ones. So I'm just getting ready to wrap this little tour up, which I've been desperate to do for a long time. You know, I was locked down in Sydney for a number of months this year, only coming out in October. And then of course there was a lockdown last year in 2020 as well. So look, I'll do a few more vids around Sydney, and before I go away myself, I'll be heading over to the US, hopefully in January if we don't get locked down again. And I'll definitely be doing some vids over there as well. And I'll tell you now, I love cocktails, so there may be a few cocktail vids in there. And definitely some coffees as well. I'll be hunting down all the best coffee roasters in the States, as I normally do. And I'll detail those on my Instagram account, and also a few little clips and maybe YouTube shorts on this channel as well. So that's it from Sydney, guys. Oh look, the Ferris wheel on over at Luna Park's actually operating. So it is school holidays, so there'll be a lot of kids over there today ploughing mum and dad's money into the cash registers. So look, enjoy the rest of your day, enjoy your weekend. See you again soon.